This is how you refresh a materialized lake view in Microsoft Fabric. My name is Bas, I'm that Fabric guy, and every week I teach you here on YouTube how to use Microsoft Fabric. And today we're going to talk about refreshing materialized lake views or MLVs in Fabric. Let's dive into my laptop. Alright, we're looking at my laptop here and I am looking at the lineage view of a materialized lake view that I have created. This is called the count by burrow view. I've used it before in one of my other demos, and it is reading data from a table called taxi zone lookup. Now, what we can do in this view is see where the data is coming from. In this case, it is reading just from one single table. We can view the lineage, and this drop down is brilliant because there is no other options than just viewing the lineage. So that's a bit odd. I would not have guessed that. Now there's a few things that we can do here, and one of them is click on the schedule button right here, and that is actually how we can refresh the view. However, let's go to our lake house and open up our materialized lake view example. Now I've created this notebook for one of my other videos where we've looked at how we can create materialized lake views, so we're not going to explain everything in here right now. However, this section on creating the materialized lake view is interesting because this will show us the definition of the view. And in this case, we are reading data from raw.taxi_zone_lookup, and we are selecting the borrow and the count per borrow here, group by borrow. This will then be the view, and the view will be available as a table on the lakehouse. So what's very important to remember is that the view contains physical data on the lakehouse. It is not like a SQL Server view, and that means that we need to refresh that data ourselves. Now, how can we refresh this data? We can do so in a few different ways, and let me quickly check. Here we have the first one. Let's zoom in a little bit for you guys. The first one is that we can execute a SQL command that says refresh materialized lake view and then the name of the view, the schema and the name of the view. And this is actually one of the better solutions that we can use. Why? We can put this into a metadata driven processing framework where we can load data into tables through metadata. And then we can start refreshing a bunch of materialized lake views when we actually need it. So when new data is coming in, at that point in time, we want to refresh the materialized lake views. Okay, so that is one version that we can use, is by executing the refresh command on your MLV through Spark SQL. So the result that you get from this query is a metadata overview that says we have done a full refresh on a certain date, and there's no rows dropped and so on. All right, let's go back to the materialized lake view itself. Let me zoom out a little bit again. From here, now we will zoom in and then we will just put that there. From here we have the schedule option. So when we are looking at the settings of a single materialized lake view, and I will show you how to get here, by the way. We go to our lake house. It's this lake house. We then find the view, and we then click here on Manage Materialized Lake Views, and then it opens up this this screen for us. Then we want to maybe not refresh the data by code when new data is coming in. We do not know when data is coming in that is being done out of our control. Perhaps that could be a possibility, and we want to refresh the lake view, the MLV, on a certain schedule. We click here on Schedule, and we enable the schedule, and we tell it to, for example, run daily at a certain point in time. Scroll here to 00, and at 3 p.m. or 1500 hours, I want to refresh this view on a daily basis. It can start at a certain point in time. It should be today, and we will end it in a couple of years. Now when I apply this, there is a refresh schedule being set for this view, and regardless of whether there is new data coming in or not, this view will be refreshed by the schedule. All right, this was a very quick video today. I wanted to show it to you because it's very important to understand this type of configurations. So what I've shown you today is that we have two ways that we can refresh the materialized lake view. Version 1 is by code. We can execute the refresh materialized lake view command in Spark SQL. When do we do that? We do that when we have data coming into our source tables that we run MLVs on top of. And in the same ETL process that we use to get data into the source tables, we want to refresh those views to have the data available for use in a later moment in time. We can then write a notebook that goes through a list, for example, or some other configuration metadata of the available materialized lake views, and then one by one we will refresh them. So that is the code first solution for when we want to put the refreshment in our ETL processes. Now the other solution that I showed you, option number 2, is when we don't know when data is coming in and we don't control the data coming in, it will just trickle in whenever outside of our control. And we want to make sure that on a set schedule, on a set interval, our MLVs are actually being kept up to date. So what we can then do is we can go into the Materialized Lake View settings, we go to schedule, we enable the schedule, we will put in the interval for hourly, daily, or whatever, and we configure from there when the view will be refreshed. Now mind you, every time you refresh the MLV, whether it's through code or through the schedule, you will be using up a little bit of compute. That's not a big problem, but you need to keep it in mind. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, that's very important. Like this video, share it with your colleagues, and most importantly, I will see you next week. Ciao, ciao.